Trade war begins when a country takes action to restrict the entry of one or more products imported from another nation or from a specific group of nations. It can go from raising tariffs to banning all imports of a product. As a consequence, the affected nations adopt similar regulation in retaliation that possibly provoke new measures by the first country. What are the main weapons used in this war? Basically, there are two. The main one is tariffs, which are taxes imposed on the importations, and import quotas, which are limits to the amount of certain products that can be imported. In trade wars, you shoot with tariffs and bombard the import quotas. They are as old as international trade itself, but trade wars are still a powerful affair today. What are its consequences and who are the main affected? The most direct result is the prices increase. Consumer will have to pay more for the same products. The trade war is an ongoing economic conflict between China and the United States of America that started in 2018 when the President of the United States long accused China of the unfair trading practices and intellectual property left. Go. At the same time, there is a perception in China that America is trying to curb it, rise a global economical power. The US has imposed tariffs on more than 360 billions of Chinese goods, and China has retailed with the tariffs on more than 110 billions of the US products. Is that we can remember about this problem was the increase of Huawei products compared to Apple that caused Google to stop offering their services to Huawei. What Trump argued was that through Huawei, China was stealing information from the United States. Negotiations are ongoing but have proven difficult. The two sides signed a preliminary deal, but some of the termist issues remain unresolved. Uncertainties around the trade war have hurt business and weighed on the global economy. In 2019, to end the economic war, the Chinese government announced a deal which has two phases. The first one is raise the tariffs for both countries, and the second one was to protect the intellectual property. In the deal that they signed, said first open Chinese market to U.S. companies, second more agriculture and energetical exportations, and the third phase was more protection for the US technology and commercial secrets. In January of this year, they signed a deal that say China is going to buy 2,000 billions in US products and services. USA maintains the tariffs established and treats Peking if they don't complete the terms of the deal. While accusations of blame over the coronavirus pandemic have retained tensions between the United States and China, threatening to break the already fragile truce of the world's two largest economies. But the pandemic has left the global economy in a much more precarious position than it was when the two countries began to dispute the trade issue 2 years ago, and none of them can take on the damage that another full-blown trade war would cause. The virus has severely affected both countries, causing one of the worst economic crises in decades and ending millions of jobs. And while China, at least, has claimed that it has already went through the worst of the pandemic, the world is still far from a meaningful recovery, which makes US President Donald Trump's recent threat of new tariffs on China and hints from Beijing that it could respond with other drastic punitive action being even more concerning. Clearly, the moment for a renewed business attention could not be worse. Economists from Standard and Poor's Global Ratings wrote in a research note early this month. The threat of higher tariffs and the intensification of the technological Cold War could affect trade and research in technology. Deactivating was still promises in the engine for the recovery this year. Phase 1 agreement reached in January only lowered some of the tariffs each side imposed on the other, while allowing Beijing to avoid additional taxes on goods worth nearly by 160 billion. China also committed to buy an additional of 200 billion in American goods and services this and the next year. And if that would have been quite ambitious, even without the virus induced slowdown, the value of that commitment is more than what China imported annually before the trade was started. And analysts in January called the deal highly challenging, unless Beijing made sacrifices elsewhere. According to Standard and Poor's economists, China will have had to increase its imports by more than 6% every month for 2 years to meet the terms of the deal. Instead, US imports fell than 6% during the first 4 months of 2020. On the other hand, Trump either has 2 more years to find out whether China will fulfill its commitment. The president faces an election in November, which analysts have pointed to as one of the reasons for his increasingly harsh rhetoric toward Beijing. Threat to economic recovery. If tensions continue to rise, the dispute could escalate into a damaged conflict that would not only weaken the global recovery from coronavirus, but could also risk of slowing down important technology innovations. Even before the pandemic, economists and experts warned that a deterioration in the relations between the two countries could stifle the development of artificial intelligence and fifth-generation mobile networks. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Janet Yellen indicated in January that losing an opportunity to cooperate on such advances would be bad for the world.